Have you ever really thought about the clothes you wear? I mean, beyond just keeping you warm or looking cool. Your clothes are like a language, right? They say something about who you are. Well, today we're going to dive into one of the most visible and honestly one of the most talked about forms of dress in the world to try and understand the deep, rich stories woven into every single thread. The writer Zheng Ailing just nailed it with this quote. Every single day, whether we realize it or not, the choices we make about our clothes tell story. And that idea, that's the perfect place for us to start as we look at how faith, culture, and a person's identity all come together in Islamic clothing. So, how in the world does a piece of fabric become such a powerful symbol? Well, to really get it, we can't just start with the cloth itself. Nope. We have to start with the worldview, the very belief system that gives it all its meaning. Okay, this slide right here shows a really critical distinction. For a lot of people, religion is maybe one part of their life, It's separate from work or hobbies or family. But for so many Muslims, Islam is a complete way of life. It's a guide that shapes pretty much everything, from your daily routine to, you guessed it, what you wear. Honestly, this one idea is the key to unlocking everything else we're going to talk about. So with that in mind, now we can get to the heart of it, the hijab. It's a word I'm sure most of us have heard, but its meaning is so much deeper and more complex than just a piece of fabric. Before we even get to the clothing, it's super helpful to know that the word Islam itself comes from an Arabic word that means submission. So this idea of living your life in line with a divine guide, that's the bedrock, the very foundation that practices like covering are built on. And that brings us right to the word hijab. In Arabic, it literally means a cover or a barrier. And yeah, while we most often think of it as the headscarf, the concept is actually way bigger. It's about a whole principle of modesty. This whole principle of modesty gets even more specific with the concept of aurat. This is what refers to the parts of the body that should be covered. And this is so important. It's not just for women. It applies to men too, though the specific details are different. It's really all about maintaining a sense of privacy and respect for the body. So for an outfit to really fit the principle of hijab, it generally needs to follow these key ideas. It should be loose, not see-through, and not designed to be flashy. The whole point behind these rules is to shift the focus away from how someone looks on the outside and onto their character, their intellect, their inner self. And here's something that's pretty fascinating, a real did-you-know moment. The idea of veiling actually predates Islam by a long shot. Way back in places like ancient Persia and the Byzantine Empire, a veil was often a status symbol. It was how you knew a woman was from the nobility. Islam took this practice that was already around, but completely changed its meaning, from being about social class to being about spiritual identity and modesty. Okay, so we've talked about the principles, but how does this all actually come to life? Let's shift gears now, from the rules to the celebration. We're going to look at how these ideas about faith and clothing are expressed during one of the most important times in the Islamic calendar, using Indonesia as our example. It all starts with Ramadan. This is the 9th month of the Islamic calendar, and it's a period of intense spiritual focus. It's marked by fasting from sunup to sundown, and it's a time for self-discipline, thinking about those who are less fortunate and really strengthening the bonds of community. And after a whole month of fasting, you get this huge, joyous celebration called Eid al-Fitr, which literally means the festival of breaking the fast. It's a massive holiday, all about family, forgiveness, amazing food, and for our topic, wearing your absolute best clothes. And this is where you see those principles meet real-world practice in the most beautiful way. You look at a country like Indonesia, which has the largest Muslim population in the world, and you see that modest fashion isn't boring or drab at all. No way. It is a vibrant, creative industry that just brilliantly blends tradition with modern style, especially during Eid. So for Eid, you might see women wearing a gorgeous baju kurung with a really stylish hijab, while men might wear what's called a baju koko shirt with a traditional peci cap. It's just this incredible display of people celebrating their faith and their culture with so much pride and personal style, all while honoring those principles of modesty. But, when you get past the rules and the huge celebrations, what does wearing the hijab actually feel like for the women who choose to wear it every day? This is where the story gets really, really personal. Just try to picture this for a second. There's a Taiwanese student, S, who just got back from studying in Jordan. She puts on her new clothes at home, and her roommate, who has never seen anything like it, literally screams. I mean, this quote just perfectly captures that culture shock, right? How one person's normal can be completely foreign to someone else. And the misunderstandings can be both frustrating and sometimes almost kind of funny. Another Taiwanese Muslim woman, Kay, shared stories about how people saw her headscarf and assumed she was either sick with cancer or following some kind of postpartum tradition. It just goes to show how much context matters when we see what people are wearing.
This quote, this one, reveals such a powerful internal feeling. For C, who got used to wearing the hijab in Malaysia, the act of not wearing it when she came back to Taiwan actually made her feel guilty. It just shows that for her, it had become so much more than just clothing. It was a core part of her identity, of her connection to her faith.
And right here, this is a powerful counter-narrative. Because while a lot of people in the West might see the hijab as a symbol of oppression, listen to this. An interviewee was talking about women in America who converted to Islam. These women said that in American culture, they had freedom, but they didn't always feel they had respect. For them, the hijab became a way to reclaim their power, to insist on being seen for their minds and character, not their bodies. In it, they said they found true respect. So that brings us back to our big question. Is a piece of clothing a constraint, or is it a form of liberation? As we've seen, it can be totally misinterpreted from the outside, but from the inside, it can be a source of identity, a feeling of protection, and a source of deep spiritual connection. In the end, maybe the real meaning isn't in the fabric itself, but in the heart and the mind of the person who chooses to wear it.